flew back this morning.
I'll call to order the April 2nd, 2025 Fishers Plan Unit Development Committee. Okay, roll call, please.
Ms. Baumgardner.
Yes, or here.
Mr. Bailey.
Present.
Mr. Curran is out. Mr. Peterson.
Here.
And Mr. Stevenson.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. We do have a quorum to conduct business. The first matter is case number PUD-25-2, Garrido Neighborhood. Request to approve architecture for the Garrido PUD, which is a residential community consisting of 21 lot, single-family detached homes. And we have Christy Cashin with the staff for us.
Planning Department. The project before you today is the proposed Garrido residential development located at 11052 Cumberland Road. This property is currently zoned R2 residential. Later this evening, the Plan Commission will hold a public hearing for the rezone of this property. If the commission makes a favorable recommendation to council and council approves the rezone, the property will then be part of the Garrido PUD. Can you hear me better? This property is surrounded by residential properties, zone PUDR, Legends at Geist, and that's south and east of the property, and R2 and R3 residential to the north and west. Here is a look at the homes in the surrounding neighborhoods. Pulte Homes, the petitioner, has proposed a development with 21 single-family lots, 2 common areas, and a common area buffer yard adjacent to the existing homes. Pulte held a neighborhood meeting on March 13th, 2025 to discuss the project with neighbors. The biggest concern from the meeting was regarding drainage on the south side of the development, the buffer yard around the development, and traffic. Fishers stormwater engineers reviewed the drainage on the south side of the development and determined that the drainage slope behind the homes along Deering Street looked natural and adequate for the area. Staff shared this information with the surrounding HOAs, asking homeowners to reach out to the stormwater engineers if or when they experienced issues. The entrance to the development will align with an opening in the landscaped median that is planned for the future Cumberland Road expansion. The City of Fishers Fire Department has approved one access point for this project. Staff worked with Pulte to solidify plans for the buffer yard. All boundaries of the property shall provide a common area strip, a minimum of 10 feet in width, and shall consist of 3 canopy trees, 4 evergreen trees, and per every 100 feet. Any existing trees within the common area that exceed 3 inches in caliper may be preserved, and if they are preserved, they shall qualify for the planting requirements. All right, here are the elevations for the Amberwood model. These are ranch-style floor plans. They are 3 to 5 bedrooms, 2,300 square feet, have multiple materials, covered porches, multiple roof lines, a variety of roof types, gable, pyramid, and jerkin head, 2 car garages, and decorative garage doors, including windows and hardware. These are the Greenfield designs. They're 2-story floor plan, 4 to 7 bedrooms, 3,000 plus square feet. Use multiple materials, covered porches, multiple roof lines, a variety of roof types, 2 to 3 car garages, and decorative garage doors. This is the Hilltop model. There are 2-story floor plans, 4 to 7 bedrooms, 2,900 square feet. They use multiple building materials, covered porches, multiple roof lines, a variety of roof types, 2 to 3 car garages, and decorative garage doors. This is the Riverton floor plan or elevation. It's two-story floor plan, 4 to 6 bedrooms, 3,100 square feet, multiple building materials, covered porches, multiple roof lines, a variety of roof types, 2 to 3 car garages, and decorative garage doors. And the last model is the Winchester, and that is also two-story floor plan, 4 to 7 buildings, 3,300 square feet, multiple building materials, covered porches, multiple roof lines, a variety of roof types, 2 to 3 car garages, and decorative garage doors. Staff recommends the removal of the following: ECG 2G, EC 2H, and PR2M in the Emberwood collection. And these models include oversized board and batten pattern and/or roof types that are inharmonious to other homes in the area. In the Greenfield collection, staff recommends the removal of EC2G, EC2H, HC2G, HR2H, HR2J, HR2M, HR3S, and PR2M. Please note that the staff report did incorrectly list the removal of CR2G instead of EC2G, so it's corrected here. In the hilltop elevations, staff recommends the removal of EC2G, EC2H, and PR2M. In the Riverton model, same 3 models. And in the Winchester model, it's the same 3 as well. Staff recommends approval of the concept plan with the following conditions, with these elevations and with the following conditions: that all TAC comments are addressed during the SIP process. Any new proposed elevations shall require approval by the PUD committee, and any changes to the approval elevations shall require approval by the PUD committee at the discretion of the planning and zoning director. Any questions for staff?
Thanks, Christy. Do we have any questions for the staff at this time? If not, we'll hear from the petitioner.
Good evening, Rex Ramage, Pulte Homes, 11595 North Meridian Street, also a proud resident of the city of Fishers. Christy went through a lot of what's in, my slide deck as well, so I won't bore you by going through almost all the exact same details. I would just like to touch on some of the elevations that staff had suggested that perhaps we don't approve tonight, and a couple of items. One, our position is that when we provide a variety of, architectural styles, it varies the aesthetic of the streetscape. There's one thing that I know we're gonna agree on, and that's architecture is subjective, and not everyone's gonna like everything, and that's okay. But we felt that by limiting some of those architectural styles, we're really kind of compressing the styles that will be able to be offered. And then our fear is that at some point, when we apply for a permit, it's going to be, it's going to be said that, hey, this house looks too much like the one next to it, and we're going to say, it's the same architecture, it's the same craftsman style. It's not, the prairie style has a different roof line, and I know that that's not everybody's flavor, and that's fine. But that's the reason why we included those, to add more variety. But then, of course, we wanted to be able to make that point to you all this evening. So for what that's worth, please take that under consideration. Everything else is pretty close to par. I have interior photos and floor plans should we need to go through any of that. But I think largely it was the architectural styles. So with that, I guess I'll make myself available to you all if you have any questions, and respectfully request your approval of all the plans that were submitted. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, comments?
So on the elevations that were eliminated, do you have any intent to resubmit for any of those changes? Or are those pretty much as is? Well, they're pretty much as is. As an example, this is the Amberwood. This is one of the 5 floor plans. This is the only ranch plan in the lineup. You see the EC2G and the EC2H. I'll just pick on those because they're on this screen. The desire not to have it's called half timbering. It's a little different than board and batten, but it's you know, similar. The desire to not have that architectural design is not something that we could really change, so to speak. So I would, if there was a need to introduce new elevations, they would be of a different architectural style that we would have maybe somewhere else in our catalog. But quite frankly, you know, we've submitted enough elevations that if we were able to approve maybe some of them that staff doesn't like, with it only being a 21 lot subdivision, that we're probably okay. We just didn't want to lose that diversity.
Megan?
I'm a little, I guess it just looks like another basic kind of neighborhood, and so I'm for sure on board with all the architecture and recommendations that staff has provided to this, or in terms of removing those elevations. But this kind of reminds me of some of these elevations remind me of what Lenore brought back for Abbott Commons that I had voted against, just because they felt so, so basic. I can't quite, again, I wish Sean was here tonight to be able to take my gibberish into architectural terms. Drew, maybe you can do it for me. But it's lacking any sort of, I guess, special character. So the elevations or the roof line of the different styles, I don't, like the one on the left is CRG or CR2G. I guess that has more design elements to it that are just making it look a bit more elevated, like HR2G, around the posts, and having that additional brick at the bottom there just makes it, the rest of the front of a lot of these, I guess this is what I'm getting at, is super, super flat.
Across the board, or maybe these images specifically?
I would say kind of consistently across the board. For sure on these greenfield elevations, sorry, I'm trying to make sure I have I think the hilltop exteriors, yeah, I think those are the better ones of the whole development. But I am really concerned about the green woods, the amber woods, and then I do the what's anything that ends in G, like G, those like big flat front windows.
Are you seeing on your screen what I'm seeing, or are you able to access different stuff?
No, so in that one, M. On the previous ones, Westchester, HR2G, yeah.
Okay.
Those big single windows, that big expanse, like the one EC2H has a little bit more like character to it since it has that breakup of the roof line in the front of it. But the other ones just seem so flat to me. And so I'm kind of struggling with the whole submission right now, but I want to let my other committee members respond.
Any thoughts,
I'm
Pete?
not seeing what you're seeing, Megan. I mean, if I'm looking at the ones, and I can't remember, Rex, what you referred to with those vertical slots in there, right? They seem to remove a lot of those,
Whoops, sorry.
right, from there.
Like the top right example.
Yeah, I mean, and, you know, me personally, I wouldn't want that because I don't want to paint it a different color every 10 years. Okay, just me, right? Just
Sure.
added labor. But to me, I mean, I can see where that's, and I don't see the flatness either, Megan.
What about 2G?
Okay, where are you?
HR2G.
Bottom center.
Yeah, I mean, again, that has probably a lot more due to paint than I think it, because I think there's a lot of articulation there. I see 1, 2, 3, 4 different roof lines there, right? I don't mind the larger windows because I almost guarantee you that's a bedroom upstairs.
Yes.
Okay, so and I'm sitting on my inside of my bedroom and I've got a big expansive window in the back and I like all the light in my bedroom. So, I mean, you know, it's a matter of, you know, personal choice when you're going there with this kind of stuff. I don't see the flatness you're talking about, because that's one thing that I go a little crazy on too, particularly when it's in the rears and you're driving past a neighborhood, then they're all the exact same line across the back. That drives me crazy, right? And we've done a lot to kind of force that issue with the builders to do some articulation in the back to get some character so they're not all sitting there 100% flat. And it's an easy thing for me to see as I'm coming home on the borderline of McCordsville and Fishers, because McCordsville size has 100% flat size in the back. But I'm not seeing that there. There was one that I wasn't jumping, I think it was in the first group. Is that the very first one, or was there one before that?
There
The
was
ranch
a-
one.
ranches.
The ranches were the Amberwood, so that, yeah, that was the first
Yeah,
slide.
the ranch one, probably the top one for me is one that, okay, you know, but again, that's a personal choice. I mean,
And to be fair, I mean, for the ranch plan, right, I would guess that there's 3 or less ranches built in this community.
Right.
Because this is gonna be mostly 2-story, and just given the proximity of where it is located in Fishers, et cetera, right?
I'm a ranch homeowner, so I like the ranches myself, but again, that's personal choice, right? So I don't really have necessarily any issues with most of the models that they're showing. You know, and our price point is where, Rex?
Oh, this is gonna be every bit of, 5 to 650, and
Right.
5 being probably the ranches.
It doesn't look like a $600,000. I mean, I think what you guys did at Iron Point, did you use any of these elevations in Iron Point or Remington?
No, Iron Point and Remington were specifically all ranch communities, which is a totally different series than this. This is a ranch that still caters to a family buyer that might only have 1 child.
Right.
So this is a different plan than what you've seen.
So I'm thinking of like the caliber of that neighborhood compared to this,
Others around it?
of their neighborhoods, their ranches,
Oh, the ours?
Pulte's.
Pulte's. This is Pulte.
I know, and that's why I'm saying like the Remington and Iron Point, that had a lot of character, even though those were all ranch homes. Like, those ranch homes had character that I think then were in alignment with,
I'm trying to remember what those look like now, Megan.
I can pull some up online, but
I mean, while you're doing that, I mean, we would say that all these 4 images that you're looking at here have multiple colors, multiple materials, different patterns. You have different roof lines, even though they all look generally the same, but there's some differences there. If you look at the top left, that has kind of the corbel detail at the peak of those gables, so that's an additional architectural item. The posts on all the front porches are different. Top left, you have a tapered column. Top right, you have the decorative brackets at the top. And then, the bottom left has more of a masonry base there. And then the one on the right just has a little bit more masonry as a whole, and then just doesn't have it on the porches. So again, it comes back to, for us, a diversity of the streetscape and what people can desire to have.
Thanks, Rex. I tend to agree with Pete on this. I don't see all what Megan is saying is regarding the sides, and kind of defer to the staff as it relates to this. Rex, let me ask you this. Those references that Megan was making to your other models at other locations, are those price points comparable to what we're discussing today?
They're comparable, but again, there's a distinction between what we're proposing here as more of a 2-story, a family neighborhood, as opposed to Iron Point, which is down on 106th Street on, just west of the golf course there by Fall Road. And then Remington is up there on 126th Street, just east of Allisonville Road. Remington's very similar to this in that it was, a single cul-de-sac. But again, Remington was, it was an all-ranch community for empty nesters specifically, and so there was not a 2-story plan in that lineup.
Okay.
So they were different.
Thank you.
Same with Iron Point, it was also different.
Sure, okay.
So by my count, with the ones that were eliminated here, per staff's recommendation, you still have 25 different elevations for how many different parcels?
21 lots.
21.
Yeah, okay. So, I mean, it feels like there's pretty good variety there.
There is, however, the city, yeah, never mind. I would say generally in agreement with that.
So I guess now coming back to a question from staff, the eliminations were made on those houses. Can we get any kind of reasoning behind those eliminations?
Just the border pattern seems too elevated or too large for all of the
So, but it's a neighborhood sitting there by itself in an infill project, right? So we've got neighborhoods that were built on either side, which were built 20, 30 years ago, guessing, maybe longer,
Correct.
right? So this one's gonna stand out on its own anyways, because they're new.
It's also a single street neighborhood, as clearly shown by the concept.
Right,
plan.
yeah,
One entrance, one exit, yeah.
Correct.
right. Yeah, can we pull up the staff thing so I can see which ones you guys eliminated again? There we go.
Sorry, you're welcome. All right, so this is the Amberwood. Again, those EC elevations which have that vertical half timbering look to them, and then the bottom one is the PR2, and that's a prairie style elevation that has a lesser slope intentionally.
So here's the funny thing is, again, the beauty's in the eye of the beholder, right? Because the one that I talked about eliminating is the one that they kept, right? And then there's an elimination down in the bottom left down there, which I would agree with. I mean, it's plain as plain could be. And actually, the one they kept right above that, the HR, am I 25?
Yes, it is.
I mean, again, but a lot of this stuff has to do with, in my opinion, the paint color choices on the elevations they've shown. I think if you paint those things differently, they start to pop in a different manner. I mean, it's not screaming to me, you know, why we would disinclude a lot of that. I mean, and we want different articulations and roof lines on occasion to give it more character, right? To get that uniformity of a roof line that's going everywhere, again, that goes back into that flat back thing, right? You know, if there's different elevation heights in those roof lines, sometimes I think that gives the character to it. Again, it's a very subjective type of interpretation, right? And I'm not saying everybody's gonna like it or not, but
Right. When our staff does the review, we try to make sure that each home has at least two roof pinches.
Right.
Roof pitches. So if, like the bottom one, while it is a prairie style, from the road, you kind of have one kind of roof pitch there. I felt like we were consistent with, Rex has the correct terminology, the larger board and batten. And then like the one on the top, staff has been consistent with like mansard roofs not being recommended by staff. The ones where the roof is kind of cut off at the front.
is that a hip roof or whatever they call that? What's that called,
Jerkin
Rex?
head.
Depends on who you ask, jerkin head, hip roof, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Again, a different little feature, but
Yeah, I'm just not seeing it. Sorry, Megan.
We don't always have to.
And we don't.
I know.
and this is architecture, so it's fine, right?
Yeah, yeah,
You guys still have good batting averages, so
Yeah.
that's fine. Are we at a point we can,
you know, let's go to the next one. I want to see how many more were eliminated there. I mean, holy cow, I
So
mean, you
again,
took out.
the top two are
You only
that-
got three models left out of that group. If I count them right, 1, 2, 3, out of 11, and keep going to the next one. You eliminated 3 there.
Yeah, the same two architectural styles on that one. Same two architectural
there.
styles on this one.
You guys just don't like that vertical.
And then the same.
Whatever we call that thing. Split, what did you call it, Rex?
Technically, it's called half timbering. There's a whole architectural
Half timber,
book.
blah,
Yeah,
blah, blah.
half timbering.
Yeah, you guys don't like those, I get it. I told you why I didn't like them, just because I'd have to paint them, but, you know, or I'd have to pay somebody to paint them, but from a maintenance standpoint, that just seems to me to be more maintenance, but that's not saying they're not attractive to somebody. Yeah, I mean, okay, if we go to the things where I'll just tell you where I'm at. I would eliminate the bottom one in the corner in this picture. Okay, I would leave the other 2. That's just me. Now, if we go back to the other one, I agree with the bottom right corner being eliminated.
so you would keep the other 2?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go to the next one. I agree with the bottom right corner being eliminated. The top 2, I don't have any issues with. Go to the next one. They're all starting to blend now. Okay, bottom right corner, I agree with, but I would also remove the top left corner too. But again, so that's a lot of eliminations in that one. I'm just not really saying why we would eliminate all those. So I'd be down to like 4 or 5 models that I would probably say no to, not where we're at.
I agree with a lot of the eliminations that they've got, like that middle row across there. I think that's really what Megan is getting at, is kind of just the flat, kind of plain look on some of these. But the ones that they've kept, I think do have a character to them. I would lean towards agreeing with the eliminations that staff has recommended and moving forward with the other ones. That's where I am. So we got 3 different opinions up here.
Yeah, mine, if I were to make a motion, it would be to approve, per staff's recommendations of eliminating those models.
That would be my,
But I don't want to make that motion.
Okay, as much as it pains me, okay, I'm going to make the motion to approve the staff recommendations. I would ask the staff, let's revisit it again, and let's make sure we've got some concrete, because I don't disagree with what Rex is saying either, that having more choices in that neighborhood, we've eliminated a lot of them, right? And is there any,
I think since it's a smaller neighborhood with 21 lots, I think it's even more important that there is a cohesiveness and the same quality and character throughout the whole neighborhood, because it doesn't connect to another neighborhood.
and my counter argument to that would be if you've got more choices to make, it almost looks like a custom neighborhood rather than a production neighborhood. Right, so you get so much, there's a lot of diversity, so, you don't have to walk down to your house 2 houses down, right? Because it's different in character.
So you want
right?
to take out other ones then?
I don't want to take out any more. I'd like to add some back.
Perhaps
Right,
I
that's
could,
just me.
perhaps I could, propose this. I understand the dislike of the vertical, the Euro country style, and I understand the prairie. I would say if we're able to find 1 to 2 more elevations that we could keep on the greenfield, we would be okay removing the others that are, what I'll say, heavily disliked, and take staff's recommendation. If we could pick 1 to 2 more of these to keep, we can figure that out.
so Rex, why don't you make a proposal to us? I'm looking at the second row, that entire row that is recommended to be eliminated. It seems like I don't know if it's consensus, but a majority that we would agree with the staff as relates to those 3.
Sure.
So I would suggest, not one of those elevations to be considered.
Well, and HR 3M is the exact same, it just has different materials across it.
Yeah, HR 3M, and then in that middle, we'll call it the second row, the HR 2G and HR 2J, the outermost. Of those HR elevations, they have the largest front porches. So if that's not something to consider, I would say if we could keep the HR 3S maybe as a 4th alternative on this, we could agree with everything else per staff's direction.
And is that HR 3S in the 3rd row, the middle elevation?
It is.
Yes.
Kind of hard to see the fine print there.
I don't know, I'd look to staff for that one.
Yeah, I like Pete's motion, if I understood it correctly, which is pass per the comments and then request that staff work with you to figure out if there's any we can add back in to give you some more flexibility.
Is there a parameter on what you would want to see to give staff direction on what you would be okay with bringing back? Is it a smaller half timber elevation? Is it,
Well, I think from what I've been hearing, so they don't like that second row at all, so, okay, I'm not gonna argue that, that's fine. Okay, we leave that there, the vertical stuff, and I keep forgetting what to call it, Rex.
Half
right?
timber.
Whatever, half timber, whatever. Obviously, the staff doesn't like those at all, because you eliminated like every single one of them, so I get it, not a big deal. But there's others down there, and I don't mind either one of the the one that Rex mentioned, the
HR 35.
HR 35, and the one next to it actually isn't bad for me either, but, you know, I like the one on the far left only because it has a front porch on it, where the one in the middle doesn't really have the front porch. So you get more articulation on that one than you do on the 3S one. That one over there, you know, you get the different roof lines. They seem to be fairly consistent. There's a change in materials and there's a front porch there.
But it's the same elevation though as HR 2G, HR 2H, and HR 2J.
Just painted in material different, right?
Yeah, and that's why I still don't think that
Okay,
looks great.
Okay, good luck, staff, trying to figure out what we want to do.
Or we table it.
We don't want to table this. Do we want to table this? You guys can make that call, I
Well,
guess.
if we table it, Sean will be here to give his perspective. But I would entertain a motion to table or to move forward with the revised.
Well, we're going to have it at planning commission in the next meeting, right?
Yes.
For a rezone, right? Everything else is going to be there for the rezone.
That is correct. In the ordinance, there are character elevations that are included from Pulte in it. Staff typically does take this to PUD, and so at the end of that, we do have those elevations. Those character elevations would remain, and they would still be required, whether now or later, to come back before this PUD committee for elevations. So it may extend their timeline slightly, but those character elevations are still in the ordinance for reference.
Are any of them that are in the ordinance as the character elevations, any of them that you've proposed be removed?
I don't believe so, but we can verify that. I will mention the character images are helpful. There's something Sean may say as well is these are renderings versus the character elevations are images of existing built homes in other communities or our very own community. So that does add a level of assistance when you review these.
Right.
Thanks, Ross.
The problem is, you know, there's always a couch on the front porch or something, right? You know, there's some reason I can't get a real photo of all this, but.
Right.
Most of the HOAs don't allow couches on front porches.
They're not from Fishers. Yeah.
Not that they won't put them there for a minute or two, but.
They're from our neighbors to the west. How about that?
Well, I will entertain a motion.
I made a motion. I didn't get a second, which was to go with staff recommendation and see if they can't add back in a model or two.
Yeah, I will
That's
second.
my motion.
So we do have a motion by Pete now. Drew has a second. Roll call, please, Kay.
Ms. Baumgartner?
Yes.
I know that hurt.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Bender?
Yes.
Mr. Stevenson?
Yes, the motion does carry. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for the robust discussion on that as well. Next agenda item is case number PUD-25-3, Grantham PUD Amenity Center, generally located north of East 113th Street and west of Southeastern Parkway. It's a request to approve the architectural for a new amenity center within the Grantham PUD, generally, once again, located north at East 113th Street and west Southeastern Parkway. And we have Gabriel here for us with the staff.
Filling in for Gabriel, Kevin Martin.
You're not Gabriel?
Gabriel, as you mentioned, this is PUD 25-3. This is Grantham PUD Amenity Center for Section 3. Here you can see the site in context. You can see how this is an existing structure that's going to be adaptively reused for the amenity center. The amenity center will include recreational facilities, a pool, and then some outdoor, also recreation areas, and area for a dog park as well. Here you can see the site plan and the layout, including the parking that will be available for the amenity center. Here's a rendering of that existing barn once it's retrofitted for the amenity center. Here is the north elevation that will be facing the street. And then here is the site elevation facing over on the west side. With that, we feel that this proposal meets the requirements of the PUD ordinance and other UDO requirements, and we are recommending approval with the condition that the site plan meets all of the requirements of the TAC committee through that process. That'll conclude my presentation, unless you have any questions for me.
Thank you. Any questions for the staff? Thank you. Do we have the petitioner here with us?
I do not believe we have a petitioner presenting today. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Kyle Eichhorn, HWC Engineering. I'm on here on behalf of the petitioner to answer any particular questions you may have.
Thank you, Kyle. Any questions?
No, I think it looks, I mean, it's a cool reuse of that existing building, so I think it adds something unique to the development.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion
Will
by
we
Pete.
include the condition
Oh,
on that motion,
course.
please?
With all staff conditions.
Thank you.
So we have a motion with the staff recommended conditions, and we have a second by Megan. Okay, roll call, please.
Ms. Baumgardner,
Yes.
Mr. Peterson,
Yes?
Mr. Bender,
Yes.
Mr. Stevenson.
Yes. Thank you. The motion does carry. We don't have any River Place PUD committee items. Ross, any staff communications for us today?
I do anticipate having a meeting in May. That meeting is scheduled for May 7th in this room.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Thank you. With no other further agenda items,
Motion to adjourn.
we are adjourned. Good seeing everyone.